Here's a question that sounds simple, but isn't. If I hand you a $50 note and ask you to spend it at dinner tonight, how careful are you with that money? Now imagine instead, I hand you a card. Same $50 limit, same dinner, same you. Most people, and studies have actually proven this, spend more with the card, sometimes a lot more. They order the extra side, they grab dessert, they tip a little higher, and when the bill comes, they tap and walk away without a second thought. Nothing physically left their hands. No wallet got lighter. The world just continued. And that right there, that is the trap. Not the interest rate, not the fine print. The feeling, or more accurately, the lack of feeling that comes with spending on credit. Because credit cards were never designed to help you save money. They were designed to make spending feel like it costs nothing. And today, we're going to unpack exactly why your brain falls for it every single time and what you can actually do about it. Let's talk about a bloke named Jake. 26 years old, works in marketing in Melbourne, earns a decent wage. Jake is smart. Jake knows about budgets. Jake has read a few Reddit threads about money and genuinely intends to be responsible. Jake gets approved for his first credit card at 22. It has a $3,000 limit, a 21-day interest-free period, and a rewards program where he earns points every time he spends. In his head, the plan is simple. Use the card for everyday expenses, pay it off in full each month, earn points, maybe score a flight to Bali. No drama. 4 years later, Jake has $2,800 sitting on that card. He's been carrying a balance, not the whole thing, but some of it, almost every single month. He pays the minimum when things get tight. He's earned some points. He's definitely not been to Bali. And the wildest part, Jake doesn't feel like he made any massive mistakes. There was no one big purchase he regrets. It was just groceries, drinks with mates on a Friday, a new pair of sneakers because his old ones were getting worn, Uber Eats on a Tuesday because he couldn't be bothered cooking. Normal life stuff. Except it added up to debt that now costs him roughly $500 a year in interest. Jake's story is incredibly common, and it's not about intelligence. It's about something far more fundamental, the psychology of how we feel pain when we spend money. Behavioral economists have a concept called the pain of paying. When you hand over physical cash, your brain registers something uncomfortable. There's friction. There's a small emotional sting. Researchers have found that this friction actually makes people more thoughtful about what they buy. Cash spenders tend to buy less, choose cheaper options, and feel more connected to the value of what they're purchasing. Cards, especially credit cards, strip that friction away almost entirely. Think about it. You walk up to the counter, you tap, it beeps, you walk away. The transaction is over in under 2 seconds. No counting change, no watching notes leave your hand, no real sense of anything leaving at all. Your brain barely registers it as a cost. It registers it more like pointing at something and having it appear. Now add credit on top of that. With a debit card, at least the money leaves your account that day. You can open your banking app tonight and see a smaller number. That connection spending now, seeing the consequence now, is still relatively intact. With a credit card, even that connection gets severed. You spend today. You might not see the bill for 3 weeks. And when the statement does arrive, it's one lump sum that represents dozens of separate decisions you made across the month. By then, you can barely remember half of them. The technical term for this is temporal discounting. The further away a consequence feels in time, the less weight your brain gives it when making a decision. So every time you tap your credit card, your brain is essentially filing the cost under future Jake's problem. And future Jake, as it turns out, is not thrilled about that. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Credit card companies know all of this. They've spent billions of dollars studying consumer psychology. And one of the most brilliant and honestly kind of evil things they ever invented is the rewards program. Think about what rewards points do psychologically. They reframe spending as earning. You're not spending $200 at the supermarket. You're earning 200 points. You're not blowing $80 on a dinner out. You're accumulating rewards that'll eventually get you something good. It turns spending into a game. And once spending feels like a game, the emotional break, That tiny uncomfortable feeling that stops you from going overboard gets quieter and quieter. There's research out of MIT that showed people were willing to pay literally twice as much at auction for the same item when they were paying by credit card versus cash. Twice as much for the same thing. And these weren't financially illiterate people. They were students who understood numbers. The card just made the money feel less real. Now combine that with a reward system that makes you feel like you're winning while you spend. And you've got a mechanism that's almost perfectly designed to separate you from your money without you noticing. Let's zoom out for a second, because there's a bigger idea here that goes well beyond just credit cards. The entire modern financial ecosystem is built around reducing the friction between you and spending. Buy now, pay later, one-click purchasing, contactless payments, saved card details, auto-renewing subscriptions you forgot you signed up for. Every one of these innovations serves a real convenience purpose, but every one of them also removes a moment where your brain might have paused and asked, do I actually want this? Do I actually need this? The companies that profit from your spending, retailers, banks, fintechs, are not inherently evil. But their incentives are absolutely not aligned with your wealth. Their goal is to make spending feel effortless. Your goal, if you want to build wealth, is to create at least some friction around spending, especially on things that don't genuinely improve your life. Here's a really simple way to think about it. Every dollar you spend on a credit card and don't pay off in full that month doesn't just cost you that dollar. At a typical Australian credit card interest rate of around 20% per year, a $1,000 balance that you carry for 12 months costs you roughly $200 extra. That's not a massive amount in isolation, but compound that across years, across multiple cards, across balance transfers and fees, and you start to see how ordinary people end up paying thousands of dollars for things they can barely remember buying. The sneakers Jake bought aren't just sneakers. If they sat on his credit card for a year, they're sneakers plus 20%. The Uber Eats he ordered is a meal plus interest. And every dollar he's paying in interest is a dollar that isn't going into a super fund, an index fund, or even just a high-interest savings account. Credit card debt is one of the most expensive forms of debt you can hold. Yet Australians collectively owe billions on credit cards at any given time. Not because we're all reckless, because the system is specifically designed to make it easy to accumulate and hard to notice. So what do you actually do with this? First, understand that the goal isn't to never use a credit card. Used correctly, paid in full every single month, a credit card can genuinely work in your favor. You get purchase protection, some fraud coverage, and yes, even the rewards can be worth it when you're not paying interest. The goal is to use the card like a debit card in your brain, even if it's technically credit. Treat every tap like cash is leaving your account right now, not in 3 weeks. Now. Second, remove the distance between spending and consequence. One simple habit, checking your credit card balance every Sunday, just a 30-second glance, can dramatically change how aware you are of where your money is going. Awareness alone is a form of friction. Third, if you're currently carrying a credit card balance, treat it as a financial fire, not a slow burn to manage. A fire. Because at 20% interest, that debt is growing faster than almost any investment you'll make. Paying off high-interest debt is one of the highest guaranteed returns available to you right now. And finally, be honest about whether the card is working for you, or whether you're working for it. If you're paying interest most months, if your balance keeps creeping up, if you've ever thought, I'll sort it out after my next pay, the card has the upper hand. And it's costing you real money and real future wealth. Let's come back to that dinner from the beginning. The $50 you spent with cash felt like $50. The $50 you spent on a card barely felt like anything. That difference, that gap between what something costs and how much it feels like it costs, is where billions of dollars quietly disappear every year from the bank accounts of ordinary people just trying to live their lives. You're not bad with money because you got a credit card. You're human, and the system is specifically designed to take advantage of how human brains work. But knowing that, really understanding it, is the first step to changing it. Because once you can see the invisible psychology working against you, you can start building habits that push back, small ones, consistent ones. The kind that, over 10 or 20 years, are the difference between just getting by and actually building something. Jake's story doesn't have to end at $2,800 in debt. And yours doesn't either. The card in your wallet isn't the enemy. Unconscious spending is, and now you know how to spot it.